everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to CineFix. We are sitting here today to talk about Logan. And yeah. All
like
three, six.
Logan's, you got 3, right? Per?
Yeah, per. 6 total.
That's right, I'm confused because the new one has just the 2.
Spoiler.
Right.
Spoilers.
Oh shoot, sorry, we gotta start over.
We'll get there. Josh Dickey, Mashable Entertainment editor. We'll get there.
We all saw the movie.
We all saw the movie. Look,
It's not a spoiler to us.
there's 4 of us that saw the movie. I wanted to get all 4 of us together, partially because, well, we all saw it, and we all want to talk about it, and partially because this is kind of the beginning of the big movies of 2017. Like, March is a surprisingly big month this year.
I remember writing a few years ago that April was the start of summer movie season when the Fast and the Furious franchise decided to go there with much great effect. Now it's March.
Yeah, and then also King Kong is going to be out in March.
Kong comes out the weekend after Logan. Big month. Really
But we're not
excited
talking about that.
We're not talking about. You're right. Too far ahead. We're so far ahead of ourselves. We haven't even introduced the latest edition. Laura Prudom, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Thanks for joining us on CineFix.
It is my pleasure.
So you're a comic book Star Wars
Nerd. Of all stripes. Yes.
We're just combining them.
All forces.
Anything that
She's
Disney
the
owns.
all
you're a
powers
fan.
combined.
Let's put Pixar in there too.
Yeah.
Great. All right.
But she's the yin to my yang of not giving any fucks at all about Star Wars and comic book
I don't know how I
movies.
can even be in the same room as you.
You're
Honestly.
giving all of the.
Yeah, well,
That's why you don't have any left
you
to
have
give because
them all.
she's giving
I
all
have.
of it.
I
Yeah.
do. I took all the.
I'm fresh out of fucks. She's
Right.
got them all.
Well, you're not fresh. You've been out of for a long
It's true.
time.
It's true.
But like we said, we're talking about Logan this week. So, general thoughts. Did you like it?
I loved it. I think it was my favorite X movie since X2, certainly. Maybe even, as a cohesive story, better than X2,
Right.
I might say.
You might say.
I might say.
Okay. And it's interesting to say that it's your favorite X movie going back to X2 because I had a hard time thinking of the last time I enjoyed any superhero movie as much as I enjoyed Logan.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of two separate answers. What was the last superhero movie that you enjoyed as much, or what
Apocalypse.
was the last superhero movie that was objectively
lie.
as good?
Well, that's 2 totally different
Yeah, that's
questions.
what I'm saying. It's 2
Right.
questions.
But for me, the answer is the same for both. And I would say The Dark Knight. Not The Dark Knight Rises, but The Dark
Dark
Knight. I really enjoyed Logan, and I think that my opinion counts more because I don't care about comic book
Right.
movies.
That's fair.
We reviewed Doctor Strange here on
Yeah.
the channel together, and I gave it a positive review because I felt like it was fine. It was very much the paint by numbers. Here's another Marvel movie. Whereas Logan didn't just feel like another one. It felt like they were actively making bold choices, and I applaud them for that. I feel like, there are definitely some issues where they might have done something a little bit more interesting. There are certainly a lot of kind of formulaic beats within it, but at the same time, I found it very refreshing.
It's not like any superhero movie we've ever gotten before, though. I mean, it is a Western, it's a road trip movie, it's a chase.
Buddy comedy.
And it's got some really quality sci-fi elements as well. Like
It's-
near future science fiction, I thought was done
It
really
totally does. And also, they really play with the fact that these guys are old. These guys are old as They are so old.
Well, Wolverine is literally well over 100 years old at this
Right.
point.
Yeah.
The point is, they do not shy away from the fact that these guys are really old. They're really struggling. They're done with life. They're like running out the clock at this point. But when we finally encounter them for the first time, they're not doing anything with their lives. They're not being superheroes. They're just counting down the days until they die. And of course, that doesn't work out that way. But it's just neat that they play with a bunch of different conventions that you don't expect to come from a superhero film at all. This is really it's like a Coen Brothers Western. It kind of reminded me of No Country for Old Men and Hell or High Water a little bit.
It had a very Hell or High Water vibe for me too. In particular too, because the structure of the story was very straightforward. It was very easy to follow. There wasn't a lot of needless exposition. I rewatched Doctor Strange the other day, and every other conversation, I think, is explaining something.
Yeah.
And so and you get so much of that in superhero movies, and this let you it was just a really well executed movie.
I trust the audience knows Wolverine and the character and what he's been through and what what his sort of worldview is, and he just gets darker and darker and more cynical and as time has gone on. So we've arrived at this place, and they allow him to be himself without having to constantly remind you why he's like that or what happened to him along the way. And the new characters that they bring in are great too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they did a very nice job of casting the young woman, X-23. Although I do think that, is she very 11-like from Stranger Things? Didn't you guys get that?
Someone mentioned that to me, and I think I might have thought that fleetingly very early on in the movie, but I feel like they did a good job of differentiating it pretty quickly.
I think they were probably shooting that movie by the time Stranger Things came out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, very, very similar. A girl whose powers are created in a lab, and
She's
she escapes,
a mute, mostly.
and she doesn't talk until she feels like she's going to, and is kind of feral in that way. It's a very similar character.
Outside of that, though, I mean, she was way more bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
Than Eleven ever thought about being.
She kicks ass.
But she kicks a lot of ass, and that brings us to another part of what makes us such a different. I mean, obviously last year we had Deadpool as an R-rated superhero movie, and this is R-rated.
They let you know immediately.
I think the first word that he says is
oh fuck.
But the violence in this one was pretty nuts. Like there's claws through. You see it in some of the Red Band trailers and everything. Did that get exhausting in any way? Did that wear you down a little bit?
For me, no. And I think
neither.
probably because we haven't seen that many superhero films that can go this full bore on it.
Yeah.
It reminds me most, I think, of Daredevil, Netflix's, Marvel Universe show, just in terms of like you can get away with the violence. The action is very well choreographed. It's very clean and easy to follow. It's not a million CGI characters being mushed up or flattened under buildings and stuff. And I think that it's more coherent, I think, even than Deadpool, just because there's a real clarity to the storytelling that James Mangold brings to it.
I agree. I mean, I loved the violence, but that's mostly because I have the bloodlust.
Yes.
But I also think that it was a really crisp kind of fight choreography within the movie. And it was just kind of nice in a weird way to actually see blood in a weird way, because I feel like most of these superhero movies, in going for that PG-13, it's a lot of the sort of old school swashbucklers where a guy gets stabbed, there's no blood, he just kind of collapses, and it's just like people getting stabbed with items and there's never
Falling
any blood.
down.
So
Action movies
it gave
in
it a
general,
lot
too,
more realness, but also it was a little bit like, oh my goodness, because you go in knowing it's R, but I don't think I was prepared for how much they actually went for that R rating.
Especially because it's like a little girl, kicking the shit out of people and tearing through swaths of men. It's actually quite empowering and delicious.
It really was. I love that.
I won't say what it is, but the first time you meet the little girl and what she does, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're losing your mind.
Yeah. So it was, super bloody, super, which I sort of found by the end of it, there's so much stabbing. There's so much stabbing.
It's a very stabby movie.
And I found by the end of it, I was like, oh, you got stabbed
All
again.
stabbed out.
I got a little stabbed out by the end. But I mean, that's just me fishing for a critique of this movie, because ultimately, it was, they nailed it.
There's very little not to like in it.
It does earn the end, and the ending is a big deal, and it has huge implications for the X universe at large. And I think that moment that Wolverine gets to have at the end could easily been cheapened by not laying the foundations for it, not just in this movie, but in all these movies past. And when you finally get to that moment when Wolverine gets to do Wolverine's thing, it feels really satisfying. And so, again, clarity of purpose in the story has a lot to do with that. When you have that big Marvel moment in the movie and it pays off in a huge emotional way, I mean, that's pretty rare for these things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Hugh Jackman making it very clear that this is his last go around as Wolverine, and then the way that they executed this movie, it didn't so much make me more excited for superhero movies, and that it's like, oh, here's a fresh take on it, and I can get back into superhero movies anymore. It gave me hope that some of these guys, even if when it's Robert Downey Jr.'s turn to stop being Iron Man or whatever, that we can actually sort of responsibly, transition from actor to actor or whatever, and bring satisfying conclusions to these stories, instead of just making bad stuff until they stop making money.
Exactly.
So.
Speaking of that, moving into the future just a little bit, thinking about this, maybe there's been news about this that I don't realize, but what do you guys think when it's time for X-23 to take over? Is she going to be Wolverine?
Mangold has already said he wants to make an X-23 movie.
And is she going to be the 10, now 12, 13-year-old girl, or do you think they'll jump ahead to some start?
I would love it if they kept her at this age, because there was just something so almost perverse about seeing this animal who's a little girl, you know what I mean? And that savageness, it was just so much more interesting than pretty much anything we usually get to see in these movies.
And it was that actress that made it interesting. It was a
100%.
really cool performance. And it'll be, I mean, look, by the time they figure out what they want to do with it, and by the time they actually get it moved, it'll be 4 or 5 years before we see that movie anyway, so she'll be in her late teens by then.
Yeah.
I hope they do stick with her. I think it'd be really neat if they did.
Yeah.
And I mean, they'll have, 30 or 40 years of her if they want to there. I wouldn't be surprised if they jumped ahead though and they threw a named actor in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think that would ruin it. I think that the joy of it is her. And her
I would agree. I think it would ruin it, and I think that's probably why they'll do it.
Probably.
Right, exactly.
They can't, keep it. They can't keep being
help
this
themselves.
good all the time.
The good news is Alicia Vikander's already doing Tomb Raider, so they're not going to. She's off the table. Daisy
Yeah.
Ridley's not right, and outside of that, what
Yeah, brunette actresses.
doesn't matter.
There's not that many.
No.
We're gonna have to go down to Australia to find one.
Oh, man. Okay, well, any other final thoughts on Logan? I mean, general thoughts. We all loved it. I think we made that clear, right?
Yeah, I would say for anyone who's a little bit like me and a little bit tired, they've got the superhero fatigue. If you're curious about this one, I would still say check it out because it's definitely worth a watch.
Just seeing Professor X dropping F-bombs and
fun.
being the biggest, he doesn't have the action, but he has such a great emotional arc in the story that I think that was probably the main joy for me, just getting to see Patrick Stewart be a badass, as he always is.
Right. Any other final thoughts?
It's a little long. I mean, it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's a little long for one of these. And there were a couple of sections in the movie that I felt like they could have just lifted out and thrown away, and we would never have been the wiser. So it's not perfect. When we say it's so lean and it's so this, and it's a long movie that does have some draggy parts, but overall they really tried something different. They went for it, and they nailed it. It's terrific. It's definitely worth seeing.
I was definitely into it for the sort of genre mixing that it did in a really subtle way, because like we talked about, it is very much a Western. Like you could pull the superhero stuff out and it would be a good Western. Yeah. You could pull the Western stuff out and it would be a decent near-future sci-fi, like a Looper kind of science fiction. So it worked on a handful of different levels in a really cool way, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
And it's got Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, it's got. Did we mention Stephen Merchant?
We did.
No.
Well, we just did now.
Aside from that.
It just happened.
All right, everybody, that is what we think of Logan. Let us know if you're excited about it in the comments down below, or if you've managed to see it already, let us know what you thought about it too. Careful on spoilers, though, for those of you who have seen it. Don't be that guy. Down in
And
the
if
comments,
you say that us
you all know what
saying
happens.
that the first word is "oh fuck" is a spoiler, go ahead and unsubscribe.
Kate Winslet, she gets on the Titanic.
She gets on the boat.
That's a spoiler. Anyway, click like and subscribe. Stick around, CineFix, for more movie stuff, and we will see you guys next time.
Han dies.
In Titanic?
In Titanic?
It could have been in Titanic. It's a galaxy far, far away. We're talking about an entirely different timeline here.
Oh, man.
Wouldn't that be amazing if he dies in the new Han Solo movie?